Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today for the Launch Your Career in Canada, Rock Your Profile event with LinkedIn Learning. Very pleased to introduce our facilitator, Anna, and get us started. And as I think about this topic of LinkedIn and all of the connections and relationships that can come from that, I think of one really important relationship. And that is where we are. And so where I'm coming to you from today is the UBC Point Grey campus. So the UBC Point Grey campus occupies the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam Nation. I've spent a lot of years learning on this land. I'm very grateful for the land, especially because learning has taken place on this really since time immemorial. So with that kind of attention and that focus, I think it's really useful to remember that as we think about the kinds of relationships and the kinds of connections that we're building with people, the places that we occupy, and the places that we visit or inhabit, all have that context, and getting to know that context is really quite useful in building a good and strong relationship. So as you may have already participated in some of our other events as part of Launch Your Career in Canada, this workshop, much like some of our other events, are part of a series. So we're coming in at Thursday's session, Rock Your Profile with LinkedIn Learning. And we have previously had some fantastic panels and sessions like My Career Story, Understanding the Labor Market and Pathways to Post-Graduation Work Permits. Tomorrow, if you're interested and haven't signed up already, how to find work and research opportunities at UBC will be taking place. Very excited to have our facilitators speaking to those opportunities, since they're wonderful ways of building Canadian work experience, and really wonderful ways to leverage what you've learned in your discipline to build important skills and extend on what you've learned as a result of your degree. To keep us moving forward, I'm going to ask folks to let us know that not only did you sign up for today's session, but you also showed up. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. If I can ask everyone to head to tinyurl.com, let me know that you've not only signed up for today, but you've showed up. Once you head to tinyurl.com, you'll have to enter the passcode 1234. You'll need to hit enter on your keyboard, and you can enter your UBC student number. Once you've had a chance to do that, if I can ask you to type done in the chat, I'll know that everyone's had enough time and that we're ready to move on and get things started with Anna. Fantastic. Seeing lots of dones coming through in the chat. If anyone is having trouble with that, feel free to send me a private message. I'll do my best to troubleshoot. Like I said, we'll be sending both a copy of the slides out and a copy of the webinar to folks. And I'll remind you at the very end as well, because all of our attendees, both at today's workshop as well as our other sessions, are all eligible to win a $50 Uber Eats gift card just for showing up and for signing in and being part of this session. So happy to remind you about that as we wrap up. But otherwise, I'm going to welcome our lovely guest, Anna, and pass it off to her.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you everyone for joining today. I'm really excited to present and hopefully share a couple of great tips and tricks to consider when it comes to ways you can leverage LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And can I confirm that the presentation is coming through?
You're all good, Anna.
All right, fantastic. Well, thanks again. As was mentioned, my name is Anna Maroka, and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager here at LinkedIn, specifically for our LinkedIn Learning Solutions. So what that means is I work with colleges and universities across the US and Canada, really helping people to leverage LinkedIn Learning and all the incredible value that it can bring to students, faculty, and staff. For today, I'm going to focus in on really basically, what is LinkedIn? So for those of you who may have heard of LinkedIn, but perhaps you haven't signed up for it, going to provide a little bit more context into why you may want to consider that. I'll go into your profile. And I think it's important when we are thinking of LinkedIn to really see this as an opportunity to help showcase your own personal stories and to help really establish that professional brand. We'll also go into some best practices when it comes to networking and ways that you can start to connect to opportunity on the site. And then we're going to also provide a couple of additional resources that you can leverage as well when it comes to gaining some additional information. There's a lot of fantastic resources that you all have access to through UBC. We'll have time at the end for questions as well, so please don't hesitate to ask any questions. If there are areas that I don't cover, you want some more clarification on. So with that, would love to start with getting to know LinkedIn. So here at LinkedIn, I like to start with our goal as an organization. So what is LinkedIn, the website? What is it here? What are we all about? And really our vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. This is that goal that's driving us in terms of why we maintain the website, the different products that we build out. It's all centered around this core vision that we have. And how that starts to take shape is through what we like to refer to as our economic graph. So currently on LinkedIn, we have over 774 million different members maintaining profiles on the site. We also have over 58 million different companies who maintain company pages. 14 million job postings at the time this deck was created. 38,000 different skills people are representing on their profiles. Over 120,000 different schools maintaining university pages. And over 443 billion different knowledge shares. And that can be articles being published, shared on the platform. So as you can see, there's a lot of activity happening on the site. And where this really starts to get me excited is that each of these metrics really represents opportunities for us all as we think about leveraging the site and reasons we may want to consider engaging on LinkedIn. Each of these, for example, each of these members is a potential connection that I can make on this site. So you can see here where this really starts to come together to help towards that vision of really providing opportunity for everybody. So that's a little bit of background on LinkedIn itself. From here, what I'll be doing is I'll be talking about some best practices as you do start to either create or you're looking to go in and refresh your profiles. There are a couple considerations as well as some newer features that I want to make sure you're all aware of. And we'll provide a couple of data points to consider too. So when you're first creating your profile, you're going to see a prompt to add a photo. And while this may seem like a pretty simple request, it actually has a lot of fantastic data behind it. So we have found that by including a photo, you can see here that you have about 9 times more connection requests on average that you might receive, and impressively over 36 times more messages sent to members who maintain a photo on their profile. And to me, I think the reason behind this is the photo can really create a first impression for recruiters or hiring managers that are using the site, or just others that you may be connecting with. Thankfully, it's pretty simple to do. You can upload a photo of your choosing, or if you go on to the LinkedIn mobile app, you can also add a photo right from there. So you're able to take a photo on the app. There's a couple of filters to help edit that to your preference. In terms of best practices with the photo, my main recommendation is to just think about this as a professional headshot. So perhaps try to have it focus just on you. Don't want a group photo, for example, just so that you're creating that strong first impression for your own professional brand. Moving beyond the photo, you'll be able to type in your name, but you'll also be able to record your name. This one also happens on the mobile app. So you'll just want to download the app if you're looking to record your name. You would just click into your photo and you'll see a couple of options there, including the one to record your name. This helps you not only be able to have your correct pronunciation on there, but it's important to note that recruiters and hiring managers using our site, they also want to make a good first impression on you. So having that pronunciation can be really helpful. I know how that goes. I have a complicated last name here, so I love having that pronunciation option. For me, it's been really helpful. With this, it's a quick record button. There are a couple of guidelines here that you can reference as well. You also have the ability to add your preferred pronouns on the site. This helps you show up authentically on the site. But again, it's also something where hiring managers using our site want to be able to show proper respect to you as well. So this is another way that you can help them do so. And then from there, what you'll be able to do is really start customizing your profile to tell more of your own story. This is where I like to think about the LinkedIn profile as a little bit different. So you may already have or are in the process of creating resumes that you maintain. And those are an incredibly important part here as you do think about searching for opportunities. I like to think about the LinkedIn profile as really supplementary to your existing resumes. With the LinkedIn profile, there are just a couple of extra opportunities where you can start to share your story in your own authentic voice. The cover story is one component of that. So if you'll notice on the slide here where Vincent has a static photo, it will alternate to him speaking. And if I had audio here, it would have his message here playing for me. Well, what this allows you to do is to record up to 30 seconds. And I've seen this used in a variety of interesting ways. So sometimes it's a simple introduction to yourself. You can tell a little bit more about who you are, maybe your academic background. This can also be aspirational. So it can include maybe what you're looking for on the site. Maybe you are looking for that next career opportunity, or maybe you're just looking to expand your network. You can explain a little bit more about why you're on the site. And it can also potentially highlight accomplishments that you want to be able to share with your network. So a lot of great opportunities with the cover story to really start expressing yourself right here on the site. So it's a really wonderful opportunity to include that. This one here, if you're looking for it, I think this might be the last one that I'll mention, but this one does get recorded on the mobile app as well. So just want to consider that. And then from here, what you can then do is include your industry. I like to point this one out specifically because it may seem like a pretty minor field on the site, but it actually is really important. And the reason it's so important is that a lot of people searching our site tend to search by industry. So you can see here in terms of numbers behind that, about 300,000 people search by industry every week on LinkedIn. So by including your industry, it makes you much more likely to show up in their searches. So whether that's somebody that might want to connect with you, or maybe it's somebody that has a job opportunity that they'd like to talk to you about, Having that industry just results in much higher likelihood that they'll be able to find your profile. You can have this. We have options here for higher education, but then as you get ready for your next career steps, just be sure to adjust this to the industry that you are going to be a part of. And we can go here. There's a drop down of a number of different options you can choose from. You'll also be able to indicate on this site whether you are open to work. And this one here is another newer feature. What this allows you to do is to indicate this in two ways. And I'm sorry, it might be kind of small, but in this pop-up box, we can see in this example that you are able to share your open to work with all LinkedIn members. If you do so, it's going to add a green photo frame around your picture. And in the hashtag here, it'll just say open to work. You could also have this set so only recruiters using our recruiting services see that indicator. By having open to work listed here, if it's applicable to you at that time, what it does is it does raise that visibility to recruiters using our platform. They'll be about 40% more likely to locate your profile. But not only that, if you do choose to include it around your photo frame, this also helps your network help you. So an example of how this might start to look, if let's say I knew of a position here at LinkedIn that came available, maybe there's somebody that I am a fellow alumni with back when I was at university. Well, maybe I had no idea that they were looking for a new opportunity, but when I saw that banner around their profile, it indicated to me that they were open to that. So I was able to bridge that connection and make that referral for them and tell them about the opportunity. So it really helps your network better understand how they can help connect you to opportunities that they might be aware of. So I do highly encourage having that photo frame on if it makes sense for you at that time, because it is a great way to really help maximize the way that you're leveraging LinkedIn. But if you want to keep that behind the scenes, you definitely can. You can always choose that recruiter only option as well. And then from there, another important field to consider is going to be the summary field. The summary field is going to be an open text box that you can start to fill out, and really it becomes your own. So you can start to have in your own written words a little bit more about yourself in terms of what to consider. You can consider talking a little bit about your work background, your volunteer background, your academic history, any accomplishments that you may have achieved, what you're looking for in terms of your career, what you're passionate about, and anything aspirational as well. So a really wonderful opportunity here to, again, really start to make the profile your own. It can really start to become descriptive and help people understand a little bit about you and how they can engage with you. Also important to note, the keywords here in the summary fields, they also will show up in some recruiter searches. So it is a working field as well to help people really understand a little bit more about you and engage with you in that sense as well. So a wonderful spot here to, again, really start to express your own brand. I always like to encourage people when it comes to the summary statement, this should be unique to you. So sometimes people ask me if there are things that they should include. And while we have suggestions, like I just mentioned, really this should be your own voice here. This is going to help differentiate what makes you unique here. So definitely consider that when filling out the summary field. You can also start to feature content on your profile. This could be a share that you received. something that speaks to you or expresses your professional interests, or it can be what we call rich media, which is something that you would upload to help showcase your own work. So perhaps that is an essay or a blog post you wrote that you're particularly proud of and you think helps to demonstrate who you are professionally. That can be a good example of what you might want to add as rich media. And then you can pin it to your profile to make it easy for people to see. So as long as it is something you own or something here on the site, you can always pin that to your profile. And then you'll be able to start to detail your work experience on this site as well. So this one I tend to get a lot of questions about. Sometimes people ask me, I had a summer position. Is that something I should include in my work history here? Or how far back should I go? Maybe I've had a lot of different jobs. What should I include on my profile? And the way I like to think about this is I always include certainly my most recent work history, but I like to think about this in two capacities. So one is this idea of transferable skills. So out of those positions I may have held in the past, did I gain skills that can perhaps correlate to skills I'm going to need for my next step in my career journey? So for me personally, prior to working at LinkedIn and before LinkedIn, lynda.com that got acquired along the way, prior to that, I was working in some administrative assistant functionalities. And so while that may not be directly what I'm doing now, I did learn some key skills such as customer service and time management that are directly applicable to the role I hold today. So I encourage you to think about those transferable skills. Also think about what work experience you would refer to in an interview environment. If it's something that you may want to tell a story about in an interview, then it's probably something to consider having on your LinkedIn profile. In terms of data behind the work experience, you can see a couple highlights listed here on the screen, but certainly higher engagement when you do detail out your work experience. There's also opportunity there to talk a little bit about any accomplishments you achieved at your work experience here, and also think about projects you were a part of here, or anything like that that can help tell a little bit more of a story behind that role. You can see a couple of fields here. And then lastly, when it comes to building out your profile, you'll also want to consider your headline statement. Your headline statement is that quick one line of information that shows up under your name on the site. That one in particular, I do like to mention, and the reason being is that it's something that has a lot of valuable real estate on LinkedIn. And by that, I mean, when people are browsing through the site, they actually see your headline statement before they ever click into your profile. So that headline statement can be the reason that somebody takes that extra step of clicking into your profile and learning a little bit more about you. When it comes to the headline statement, a lot of times people might focus that on a current job title that they hold, but I like to think about it more broadly. So your headline statement can include things that you are passionate about, skills you hold, aspirationally, what you're looking to do next in your career. So it does not have to be limited to just your current job title. Certainly can include that, but you can also think about it more broadly. You'll have space to highlight accomplishments on the site, also ways to express any volunteer experience that you want to share. Volunteer experience, much like work experience, can also be a source of displaying your transferable skills you've acquired. It also helps to just display a little bit more about who you are as a person. So I always enjoy this story from a friend of mine who works on our content production team. And he let me know he once connected to a job opportunity, And it was because of his volunteer experience, the hiring manager shared some work at a similar volunteer organization, and it really facilitated some conversation amongst them that grew from there. So, although it may seem like an extra field, it actually is really important to consider including that. You'll also have space for highlighting skills that you have acquired and endorsements you've received, and then recommendations. I'll show you those in some more detail as we go. So a lot of different fields that you can start to leverage within that profile build. So I encourage you, if you already have a profile, maybe think about some of these extra fields if you don't yet have them populated, because they can all go to help you really start to express that professional brand that you've built. So from here, I'll talk a little bit next about building out your network. There are some tips and tricks for ways you can use the site. Building out your network on LinkedIn can be a little intimidating at first. You might, for example, see people on the site who have lots and lots of connections. And if you're not there yet, there are some tools here to help. So don't let that intimidate you. I'm still building out my network. This is something that happens over time, but there is no time like the present to get started in terms of expanding your professional network. The reason networking becomes important is that it can often lead directly to opportunities. So when we were doing a little bit of research, we were finding about 50% of new hires at the time of our survey were resulting from some form of personal connection, whether that's somebody informing you of a job opportunity or directly making a referral. Thankfully, there are ways here on this site to help identify who some potential networking contacts could be. So on this site, you'll notice that we have what we call these degree labels. So you'll see first degree, second, and third degree. And while that may be a little bit confusing why we include that at first, where it really starts to come into effect here is when it comes to how you reach out to people. So if we take this example here of first degree connections, let's say I'm this person in the middle. My first degree connection is somebody that I directly know or have interacted with. So this is somebody I'm connected to on LinkedIn. Maybe this is a classmate of mine, a former professor. So this is somebody that I'm directly connected to. But from there, you'll see second degree connections listed. So in this case, I have never interacted with this person. I don't know them, but we have a mutual connection here. And then you can see we extend that one level further to third degree connections. So how can you start to interact with these connections? Well, you can do something like this. So here's a second degree connection. So not somebody I'm personally connected to. But what I can do is I can more comfortably send them a message on LinkedIn, and I can let them know I found your profile through our mutual connection. And in this case here, I wanted to ask them a couple questions. So having these labels can actually be a really great way to facilitate these reach outs. For me, it makes it a little bit more comfortable. I can let them know how I found their profile. And so it's just one opportunity where you can use LinkedIn strategically to really help expand out your network. Now, you'll also have the ability to go into the My Network tab. It's going to have the icon up here with the people. And with this, you'll have some suggested connections that you can reach out to. You'll also be able to search for connections. So another question people ask me quite often is, okay, well, it's not somebody I worked with. Maybe it's a friend or a family member. Should I connect with them? Is that appropriate on LinkedIn? And the answer is absolutely. What that might start to look like is, let's say here, I do have a family member. Maybe I have a cousin that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. but they might work at a company that has job opening, or maybe a connection of theirs knows about an opportunity that would be interesting for me. So you never know where these opportunities might come from. So absolutely, friends and family are great to include. You can include classmates. You can certainly reach out to people that you're meeting at networking events. In fact, on the mobile app, there are even easy ways to connect right there. There's a quick scan option to be able to connect with people that you're meeting in person. So before you leave the conversation, you can bridge that connection using the mobile app. These can be here, current and former managers, colleagues, professors. So a lot of different people that you can potentially connect with on the site. You can also go into a search. And I like the search in particular if I'm looking to see if there are potential connections here that really are under these particular criteria. So the way I've used this is, let's say I have a company in mind and I'm really looking to start to work for that company in the future. Well, what I can do is I can search by company. And in doing so, I can see a list of suggested connections that are working for that company currently. So using the search functionality can be a great option as well. And in terms of other just tips and tricks for networking on LinkedIn, you can absolutely reach out to people you have something in common with. That might be a volunteer opportunity, for example, that you have in common. People who hold a job or work at a company or in an industry that interests you. People that also might be able to help you achieve your goals. Sometimes people hesitate if they are looking to reach out to maybe somebody who's currently a manager, for example, or maybe it's somebody in leadership. I would encourage you not to hesitate. You would be amazed how many people on LinkedIn are here willing and looking to help others really achieve their professional goals. So absolutely, if it's somebody that may be able to help you reach those goals or talk about their career journey, please don't hesitate to connect with them. And it helps to just use the message field when you're reaching out. Much more likelihood you'll get a response. And it can be as simple as who you are, how you found their profile, and how they can help you. Now, thankfully, you also have your alumni page that you can start to explore. So the alumni page, if you just search for the university, and then you're going to go under this alumni tab. And what this will do is it can help you connect with fellow alumni. So you have a fantastic network that's already out there just waiting for you to engage with them. What you can do is you can even go into advanced level search. So if I were to scroll down on the alumni page, you're going to start to see some suggested connections that are fellow alumni, but you can even be more strategic about it. So let's say here, we have a UBC alumni pool at Amazon. A good number of people who found positions at Amazon, actually. So what I can do is I can actually click into this Amazon field if I'm looking to potentially work at Amazon too. And if I click into that, the next thing we'll do is I'll scroll down the page and I will see suggested connections that are also UBC alumni who are working at Amazon currently. So you can see where you're really able to start expanding this out and reaching out to people and building out your network here. So some tools on LinkedIn to help really facilitate that process and make it much simpler to find who some of these connections might be. And thankfully, as that commonality of being a fellow alumni really creates an easy opportunity to have that connection there, reach out, because you know that you have that in common already. So definitely use that alumni page. It's really fantastic for networking, connecting the opportunity, just so many benefits living right there on the alumni page. Now, as you do start to build out your network, a couple of ways that you can engage with your network. So one common way people are using our site is to ask for informational interviews. So this can be somebody who has a job role you're aspiring to. You can reach out, learn a little bit more about their career path. Maybe you're noticing something interesting, like they had the same course of study that you took at the university, and they really pivoted that into a career field that you're interested in really following those steps. Well, you can talk to them a little bit more about their journey. You can ask a little bit more about their industry, their company here, and simply to start to establish a professional bond. This is one area where having so much going on virtually actually can be beneficial because it can be really simple to just request, a quick little Zoom coffee chat with somebody. So a lot of opportunity here to ask for informational interviews. If appropriate, you can also ask for a referral as well. So you can talk a little bit more about job openings specifically and talk to them about those roles, see if they're able to help create that referral for you. And you can even request recommendations here. Recommendations I am particularly fond of because what they can do is this is another one where it can really help supplement your resumes that you may be maintaining. So with recommendations, what people can do is they can write a little bit more. They have really an open opportunity here to type in a little bit more about what it was like to work with you, why they would recommend you to a future employer. So it really creates this running document that can be right there on your profile where you can start to acquire these recommendations. This will help hiring managers understand a little bit more about what it's like to work with you. And it can really help validate some of those skills and experiences that you're talking about on your profile. So there'll be a number of drop downs people can select. This can certainly be a coworker, but it can also be a fellow classmate. Maybe you worked on a project together. That's a great opportunity to use this. Maybe you have a mentor at the university that you connect with from time to time. Maybe it is a professor that you're close with. So a number of different ways you can start to use the recommendation feature to help really build out, again, your professional story. You'll also be able to start to build out thought leadership. This is another great way to expand your network. It can be as simple as sharing updates on the site, or it can be more comprehensive if you want to start to publish articles on the site. And we've had a number of students do this successfully using our publishing component to really create content, start to share that out with their network, and that can really help them express themselves on the site and set themselves apart. We do have some best practices here. You'll have a copy of this presentation so you can read these over. But really what it comes down to me, you'll see a common one here, whether it is sharing updates or publishing content. The one that really comes here across on both of these is being authentic. So using your own voice here as you start to think about if you're going to create and publish content on the site. Now, when it comes to building out your network, it is important to invest just a little bit of time with your network to help maintain these relationships over time. And it doesn't have to take all of your time. We know that you're probably all so busy, but this is where I think, especially having the mobile access can be really helpful. Just coming on the site a couple minutes a day to engage with your network can go a long way to maintaining these relationships over time. So it can be as simple as liking or sharing things. It can be giving those recommendations to each other. But just spending a little bit of time with your network can go a long way to fostering those relationships. So one perfect example is that I have some colleagues and we work together, but it's been years now. It's several job roles on both sides ago that we worked together. Well, just something as simple as, for example, if they started a new position or got a promotion, congratulating them on that. Something as simple as that can really keep me top of mind for that person, help remind them of that shared work history we had. And perhaps if there is an opportunity they see in the future, maybe I'll be top of mind for somebody they want to reach out to about that. So certainly fostering your relationships and really maintaining those is an important thing to consider too. But the site does make it pretty simple to do so. So that was a lot about networking. What I'll start to do next is talk a little bit more about really starting to use the site to search for jobs. So for those of you who may be looking for opportunities or going to in the near future, I think using this site for searching for jobs is a common way people think about LinkedIn, but there are some strategies you can incorporate to help with this process. So we do have a lot of people using our site for this purpose. You can see here 40 million is our weekly average. So a lot of job seekers who come to our site to see if there are any job postings that apply to them. Well, there are some ways that you can start to use the site more efficiently in this process. So certainly you'll be able to search for jobs. You can always go into the job tab of your site. It has the little briefcase icon. What I love to do is I love to go in and click more filters. I like to expand out the filters. It's one of the first things I do when I'm using this part of the site. And the reason being is you can really start to narrow this down. Sometimes looking at these opportunities can be a little daunting at first. So using these filters can really help funnel this down. So I can filter this for things like experience level. So maybe I'm looking for my first position postgraduate. Well, I can use this to help find jobs that are narrowed down to that experience level. You can also use that location filter, which I know will be really key. So you can have this location filter set to your preferred location here. So you can have this set within Canada. You can even have your work style is a really popular filter people are using now. So maybe you want a position where you're going into the office every day. Maybe you want one that's fully remote, or maybe you want what we call a hybrid opportunity where you're going in sometimes, working remote sometimes. Well, we even have filters in place now that you can use to help narrow down those preferences. So there's a lot you can do within this filter to help identify the opportunities that will be most applicable to you. And then what you can do is you can create a search alert. So knowing how busy you probably all are, going in and doing a full job search every day may not be the most realistic approach. So here's a good time saver. You can add a search alert based off those filters you just set. You can have a cadence here, so it can be daily or you can expand that out. And then you can choose to be notified via email or LinkedIn notifications or both. What this will do is it will save you a lot of time. So you'll be able to start to get alerts when matches come through and get added in terms of job postings on the site. So the search filters are a fantastic opportunity. And then where this can be extra helpful is given how many job seekers are using the site, this can really help you find those opportunities more efficiently. So a lot of traffic happening on this site, a lot of job seekers visiting these postings, a lot of postings. This is all going to help make it a more efficient process for you. Hopefully you'll see those opportunities faster. And then you can also go within that jobs tab and explore some suggested roles. This is going to pull off of your profile based off work experience, skills, location. And then the next one that I'll point out here in terms of searching for opportunity on the site is to go to the company pages themselves. And I know what this may seem, okay, do I really need to do this? Well, here's an interesting fact behind this one. Recruiters using our site can actually tell which candidates have engaged with their company pages. So this is one easy opportunity to help you stand out in the crowd, is just to spend a couple of minutes engaging with the company page itself. Not only that, but if you already have an employer in mind, there's going to be a jobs tab right on their company site just to help with that search process, make it a little bit easier for you. You can also learn a little bit more about their company culture if you're still trying to gather if that's going to be a good fit for you, if it's a company you want to pursue. And then I also love this one because if you are going to be going into an interview setting, oftentimes nowadays, employers do want to know that you've done a little bit of research. It's something I personally have been asked in interviews. People wanted to know, why are you here? Why did you apply for this company? And this is another opportunity to really help inform yourselves. So you can see, for example, a little bit more about the company culture and values. You can also see what sorts of articles they might have been sharing, what news they're sharing, see what's top of mind for the company. So it's a great source of information. So definitely something I encourage you to do. Just a couple of quick clicks here, and it can really help you stand out. And then I'll close here before we go into questions with just a couple other resources, ways to use the site to gather additional insights and information. So we talked about company sites here. You can always follow as well. This can be done at the individual level too, what we call influencers here. It's something I like to do. So within my own industry, for example, I follow some different CEOs and thought leaders because I want to stay informed on what's happening in my own industry. It helps me. It also helps me feel a little bit more prepared. Again, if I am going into interviews, just helps me really keep a pulse in terms of what's happening in my industry. You can also join groups on LinkedIn. So you'll have an alumni group that you're able to join, but there are a number of different groups, industry-based here. Sometimes it is based off a particular skill or professional interest. So a variety of different groups. I would start with the alumni group because it's such an easy one to be able to join and engage with people that way. Not only is this another space to help expand your network, but joining groups is also a great source of gaining information. So a number of benefits here to using the groups functionality. You can just search for a topic or an industry in the regular search bar, and then you can switch the filter for groups to see if there are any groups that are needing those. And then if you are getting ready to go into some interviews, personally, it's something that intimidates me. I don't know about you, but we do actually have a tool here living on the site. It lives under your jobs tab, so that little briefcase icon. And it's called the interview prep tool. And what it does is it allows you to not only see a list of our top interview questions based off some surveys we did with our recruiters. So if nothing else, just reading through that list can help you feel more prepared. But you can also record and write responses and get AI feedback on your response. So this is a fantastic opportunity if you want a little bit more practice or you're getting ready for some interview steps, definitely a tool that you can leverage. And then thankfully, as part of UBC, you all have access to LinkedIn Learning as well. So LinkedIn Learning, what it is it's an online library of over 16,000 different courses and growing. We add about 60 courses a week on average. They cover a variety of topics. So certainly a lot about what we've talked about today. So there are courses covering tips for networking, for example, but there are also business, creative, and technology skills that you can engage with. We do offer these courses in 7 different languages, so you can toggle to your preferred language in case you wanted to see content offered in another language. There is a landing page that you can go to learn more about your access, and there's some quick links there to help get you started. We do have courses also already formatted into learning paths. These are often based off a particular skill, but they are also often formatted in terms of a job role. So if you do have a job role that you are considering next, going in and taking a quick look at the learning paths can help navigate you through some suggested content that can help you understand a little bit more about what some of those skills or technologies might be that you need for the role. I know sometimes it's not always clear. For example, when I became a customer success manager, there are some different skills and technologies we use that I wasn't aware of initially. So this can be a great spot you can go. And then here's where we can even tie this more closely together. So with LinkedIn Learning, you have the option to connect your LinkedIn profile. And if you do, what you'll be able to do is as you watch these courses, you gain certificates of completion. Those are there for you. You can print them off, share them. But if you connect your profile, you can also choose to add them to your LinkedIn profile. Not only will it have that certificate living under your accomplishments page, but it's going to tag the associated skills that our content team has with that course to your profile to help demonstrate that you have been developing those skills as well. You can choose to add this to your feed, but you don't have to. So what this does is it really helps display that you are invested in your ongoing learning and development. So you are taking those extra steps here, even beyond the classroom, to really focus in on this. This can definitely speak to employers because ongoing learning and development is something that I think every industry out there, I can't think of one where this wouldn't be applicable, but it is such a key component of who we are as employees. We're often being asked to continually develop our skill set. And this is one way to highlight that you are doing so. There are also numerous employers out there using LinkedIn Learning for their own employee base here. So it also creates an opportunity there for them to ask you a little bit more about your own efforts. And then the last thing I'll leave us with before I go into questions is that there is a Career Explorer tool that you can also work with. The Career Explorer tool here, what it does is you're able to indicate a current role you have or your latest job history. And it's going to try to find a skills match to potential next steps. When you do see a role that you're interested in pursuing next, so in this case, maybe I have had a customer service role, but next I'm looking to go into this office administrator role. What it's going to do is it's going to try to highlight potential skills overlap and then help indicate what could be a skills gap. So these are a couple of skills gaps that might apply to you personally. And if so, what you can do is you can click into these. It'll launch you into the associated LinkedIn Learning content so you can brush up on those skills. And then when you're ready, you can find those job postings or connections holding those positions currently. So the Career Explorer is another fantastic opportunity to engage both with LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning. So some great opportunities here. And then the other one here with LinkedIn Learning is we do have a variety of courses that can help if you are going to be sitting for professional certification exams. We have a number of different vendors where we have content to help you prep for those. And we even have some continued education units that qualify for maintaining some of these professional certifications. So we have a separate landing page to learn more about which vendors are included with that we'll be able to drop into the chat. But that was a lot. So thank you all so much here for joining me today, learning a little bit more about how you can start to leverage these tools that are available. Everything I've talked about today is free, so you don't need our premium seats to access any of these. So it's all either available on LinkedIn or being offered through the university. So highly encourage you to take advantage while you are still a student. And with that, I'll stop share and we can see if any questions have come through.
Thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate your time today. The chat was a little bit quiet, so I'm curious if there are any questions now that people have. I see a couple of things coming through. Are there learning tools free to all subscribers? I think I can speak to that a little bit. The UBC pilot of LinkedIn Learning is available now. Highly encourage you to log in and check it out. There's lots of information there that's available to you. And the more you use it, the more we know how interesting and useful it is, the better we're able to advocate for keeping it. So highly recommend you to log in, check it out, and give it a try. And I've posted the link in the chat a couple times for it, but I will post it one more time in just a few moments. In the meantime, are there other questions for Anna about LinkedIn Learning or how to really stand out in LinkedIn? If anyone's feeling brave, feel free to take yourself off mute. It's nice to hear from people too. And there's the chat feature available. Okay, good question coming through the chat, Anna. Can you speak to the difference between, say, a free account and how a student might benefit from premium, or if it's really kind of needed?
Sure. So thankfully, everything that I was covering today, those were all free features that you can use. And LinkedIn Learning Access is being provided through the campus pilot. With premium, what it does is it does unlock a couple of extra features. So one of them, for example, would be access to LinkedIn Learning. But you can always search, if you go to LinkedIn into our help center, you can search for premium and there'll be an outline of all the various benefits that you can use. So there are a couple extra functionalities that you can take advantage with premium. But thankfully, you don't have to use anything I talked about today. So something to consider, premium would have a cost associated with it. So you'll just want to keep that in mind, but it does have a couple of benefits, such as access to the learning library if you no longer have access, for example, through an employer or your campus. So just something to consider there with premium.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer, Anna. Unless there's any other questions in the chat, I think we can start to wind down for today. To wrap us up, I want to share some helpful information with folks that I mentioned at the very beginning of today's webinar. So all attendees will receive an email following the event that will include links to Anna's presentation, the tools that we talked about, like Career Explorer, interview prep, LinkedIn Learning. You get a variety of those links all in your email, as well as a copy of the recording for today's webinar. So to make sure that you get that email, I'm going to pop the sign in into the chat one more time. If you've already signed in, no need to sign in twice. That will increase your odds of getting the Uber Eats gift cards. One sign in is plenty for that, but if you weren't able to sign in previously, please make sure you sign in. Let's give Anna a big round of applause and thanks for a fantastic session today. Really appreciate her expertise and her insight to give us that window into really how LinkedIn works in the background. So useful to take advantage of all of the features and all of the strategic ways that it can help you not only build your network, but find out about opportunities and land that job that you're really hoping for. So thank you so much, Anna. This is the end of our workshop today. Stay tuned for tomorrow, where we have our last workshop as part of Launch Your Career in Canada, how to find UBC research and work experiences. Highly encourage you to check that out and round out the full week of programming for Launch Your Career in Canada. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a wonderful day.